Morning, everyone. Well, it's a it's another video. We are in quarantine, or just working from home. Slash, most people are staying home all the time. So what does that mean? It means there is a lot more UB games to be played, but also, sadly, a lot of tournaments are being canceled or postponed, or you know, yeah, hell. I mean, a big topic for me, at least, or a big subject, is ETC. Looks like, in my opinion, will be postponed till next year, meaning because of all the corona stuff. It's probably for the best to not get together in a couple months. So what does that mean for me? Well, honestly, I don't know. As far as, I came back to the game to go back to ETC, which I got on the team, and then, we still have 5 months till it even happened. So now with it postponed, I know that I'm pretty sure the team's going to be repicked for next year, which I think is completely fair. Um, Not only because a year from now, who knows who's going to come out of the woodwork and be better than the others. Hell, if let's just say doomsday scenario, ETC's next year, August, right? Doomsday sounds so bad. It's not doomsday is everything gets canceled forever, but let's just say ETC next year, August. That's That's almost 16 months away. It's more than that. Five. It's like 17 months away. So I don't personally think it's fair, even as a person who's on the team, that I should automatically get on the team next year just because I was picked this year and didn't get to go. It does mean we are the highest placing USA team ever, as tied for first place is pretty good. I don't get a medal for it, but you don't get a medal for tied for podium. You just get it for if you actually win the tiebreaker. We'll assume we won the tiebreaker in this case. Um, that being said, I don't know. Like I said, I 100% think the team would have to be repicked, and it's funny because it's like, what level does it get repicked at? Because there are people, there are new people to the team this year. Three, if you count Travis and I, which I would, because we haven't played on ETC in 5 years. So if you haven't played on ETC in a couple of years, it really, like, you're kind of new back to it. Like, new in a sense that you weren't like an auto pick because you went the year before, right? You still had to prove yourself to be like ready to go. And obviously, having experience in ETC is nice on your resume, but it doesn't make you an auto. So there were, what, five people who were already on the team last year. And so it kind of is interesting in a sense of, if you think about it, and this isn't to say that the people who made the team this year couldn't be the same exact team as next year, but, like, how do you the nice part is when it's every year, you can see which people are kind of performing meh, and say, is there somebody else who can replace them? Or maybe somebody starts showing that they deserve to be on it, blah blah blah. But when it comes to like this situation, right? How do you reassess everything without using, like, there's come ETC's canceled, we're all still ready to go for next year. Come February-ish, when the team is picked, you've had zero. The most recent ETC bias is like a year and a half before, right? So there is no, like, oh, he scored 80 at ETC or this or that. Like, it really is. This is kind of what he's done in the last year. Starting now, pretty much, right? This is what he's done in the last year. Do I want him on the team this year? And who picks that? I'm assuming Jeremy's going to be captain again. Um, so that's the kind of interesting. How do you put together another group of eight guys, um, who are willing and ready to go? Because I think one thing that can happen, this is all like, well, it's probably an ETC probably not gonna happen, but what you can have is like a couple months of quarantine without tournaments, right? Then your tournaments are back, and you got to come back and play again, and you know you can't really rest on your laurels of like, oh shit, well, I made it last year and I deserve to be on it again just because I had a good 2019, and now this other guy, maybe he's crushing it, wants to be on the team, put in the effort. Um, And you can't sit there and rest on your name and be like, well, my name's XYZ. I deserve to be on the team, because then you just get, hopefully, I mean, that's the idea, right? You want to put the best eight you can. Um, and again, I think it's repicking is fair to all those guys who were very close to making the team this year and didn't. And you can't just say, well, you have to wait another year to even have a chance again, because we're going to take the same eight guys we picked the first time. And I think the eight of us that got picked this year can't sit there and be like, well, I deserve, and I'm 100% going to be on it next year. You got to play your way, and somehow it has to be picked again, probably in pieces. You probably like need to pick a couple guys early, like we did this year, and they don't have to be the ETC guys that went 2 years last year. It could be anybody. Could be just two of them, and then help build the team from there. But I think it'll be interesting when ETC gets postponed, how we as a community, because go about and pick the next team, because I think it's more, when I talk to other countries and about their ETC process and all this, I think the one difference I find with USA and these other countries is we are very against each other. Like, very against each other. Like, when Spain picks their eight guys, now they have a little bit separate, but like a new team. New team is, I guess, the team that Cal and them come from. They have a big team event. Whoever wins it gets ETC. Blah blah. But new team has maybe 14 to 16 guys, and they all want to go to ETC, but at the same time, they understand that like they want to send the best players and win, right? But I don't think America has that mindset. I think we are a group of guys, and some of us get along better than other ones, and obviously there's different friend groups in within the community. That's fine, because locations and past, and I mean, just friends. Like, I grew up with Travis since middle school's best friend, so clearly I'd want him more than others, and it has a little bit of personal bias to it. But we do not, like, there are people. Everybody has people that they don't want to do well, and they don't want to make the team. Or we're battling all the time, like, right? It's not about how can we create the eight strongest people. It's like, how can we nudge ourselves to be one of the eight picked, so that the other one, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, well, I'll say fringe guys, and it could be anybody. It could be a fringe guy. There's probably a lot of fringe players. There's really not as many people, I think, that are like auto picks, right, for the team. But a lot of us will say, let's just give a shit number. I'm just making. Let's say there's 20 people in the USA who could reasonably make the team. I'm not saying don't try. I mean, if you look at Omer, dude only played for 2 years, played a ton of UB games, went to tournaments, talked about it. Got a lot better. So you can make it there. But let's just say there's 20 people who reasonably are skilled enough at the game to make the eight best team, assuming they were all going for the team. Let's just go with that number, 20, to make it. We don't act like a group of 20 guys who want to take the eight best. We want those like 10, 11th, 12th players, including listen, I'm one of them too. Like, I want to go for myself, and I want to try to prove it and make it seem fair, but I'm not actively super helping everybody else around me that isn't like my friend, right? Like, I help Travis and I help each other, and I get help from the Euros as I can, but it's not like I'm out there trying to make the people competing with me for the team that much better. Like, I'll play them and stuff, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a difference. Like, it's not as much of a common goal with the USA as I feel like some other countries are, but I do wish that would get better. I think not only for the community, but for the ETC team. And it sucks that we couldn't go this year, or probably can't go this year, because I do feel like it's one of the better lineups of people, like from top to bottom. Now at ETC, you never know, because The problem with ETC is, I mean, it really, if you play two of the three, four best, two of the, if you play like Poland and Germany and get rocked, is that to, and and then you come in like 10th, is what's to say? It really, it's about who you play and how you got there, right? If you score 85, 85, 85, 85, 85 and come in like fourth, but you didn't play anybody, you know what I mean? Like there's always the road, right? I'd rather lose on table one the last game and come in sixth than win on table 4 or 5 the last game and come in fourth, right? Like that's just like you had a chance when you're on table one. You have zero chance when you're on table like six. You're just like you just happen to cap some team that was there. So, um, but I thought we had a pretty solid or have a solid team for this year's. But so so enough about ETC stuff. We'll see how it goes if it gets postponed, how the team gets repicked, what happens in the community. How long is it till we go to tournaments again? But right now we have UB tournaments. We're in CoronaCon, so that's pretty fun. But we have to play all our games on UB, which I'm getting more accustomed to. I got 5 games in the last week on UB, which is a pretty good amount for me, considering I have to work still. So it's hard for me to do one during the week, though I try to at night once in a while. That being said, UB is its own type of thing. Definitely more relaxed. Get a little lazy on UB. I think there's a lot of guys get distracted when they play UB. Obviously, you're talking to people, you're looking up internet stuff sometimes, but I do if it's going to be the thing that I'm stuck with for another 2 or 3 months, it probably would be best to me if I could like get a little bit more focused on how I play online, because it's like it is about learning and there are little things that you kind of miss. I don't know if I'll be the Furion level of measuring a million things, but it would be nice to kind of train yourself, even if you go hard for like a couple games and like really try to focus on what you're doing. It'll kind of become a little more ingrained. Like I check a lot of arcs nowadays. Like there's things I didn't do like when I was playing UB like once every 2 months, that now I'm like, okay, well, I'll check some more arcs, check some distances, get out tape measure, become a little less lazy about checking reforms and stuff. So, um, but I do think there are a lot of things on UB that are laziness invoked mistakes, is how I put it. That's the best way to put it. But as I said, now what else? UB also allows pretty easy access to change lists and play new things that you couldn't play before. So I told you guys in my last video I was kind of on this road of I haven't played the Helma in a while and I just want to see how it is. And I've played lists like full Chariot aggro. I just played a Feldrak army that Thomas created and I modified. It was like 5 Feldrak, 5 Feldrak. Oh, do I have it up? Let's see if I have it up. This was not it. This is not even a real list. Do I have it? Nope. Nope. I think I deleted it. I deleted it. Well, it was it was this Sorcerer Lord on a battle shrine. A big ass warrior block, 2 dogs, 5 Feldrakes, 5 Feldrakes, 3/3. Is that it? 2 giants with spear. It was. I played 2 games. I could have won both games. I got 8s and play amazingly, but it didn't feel good. Like even if I won both games, the list actively felt kind of bad. Like, and I don't say bad as in like it can't win, as in like it felt very like bleh. Like it's pretty blocky. It doesn't do anything special. It feels like you're waiting for people to beat you or not beat you. Does that make sense? Like that's how it felt. It felt like I was like, well, I can move my big block here and we'll see what they do. And sure, there's little things that you could do better. Maybe some macro decisions about like what you're gonna do for the strategy. Overall strategy could be improved upon, but like, I mean, think about the list. It's a bunch of blocky Feldrake units and some warriors and 2 giants. Like it's not that dynamic it's just not dynamic, is what it is. Um, there's no really, giants aren't the greatest single models in the world. It's, Feldrakes are fast, but they're not maneuverably fast, right? Because they're just, I mean, they're fast because they're move 8. Swift stride. They're not fast in that they like zip around the board and create clips and stuff like that. In fact, you're hoping that people don't force clips on you, so you only get like one Feldrake attacking and stuff like that. So that's what was kind of like meh. It just didn't feel great. The Battle Shrine guy was pretty cool. I don't think I'll use him again right away, but I kind of like. I don't know if I take Evo. Evo felt kind of bad. I thought it would be cool having Evo. Maybe if I had more spawns and stuff for rerolls where I wanted the buffs, but I actually think the alchemy buffs would have been better in this case. And you're casting a lot of Hellfire and Grave Call / Wrath of God anyway, so it's not like you're not casting that many of the Evo spells unless you're in combat. It was a pretty cool. I mean, this guy's fucking expensive. He's more than a demon prince, but he has 3 channels by himself. He has 5 spells, of which and Veilwalker, of which can be pretty good. And he's not horrible in combat, but he's more than a demon. So I think what's interesting about this is it got me thinking. I have a magic phase with one list I've been playing where it's Herald, Adept, and Shrine. 6 spells, 3 channels, and I kept saying that it didn't feel good. And I think part of it is I've been using the Herald as like this. Like it's a very fighty army. Like clear it's all chariots and like elders and stuff. So that the Herald doesn't have to fight well. His job isn't to like go out there and be the greatest fighter in the world. And so if you focus on him being like this caster, now I think it all depends on what you're against too, right? I think that mindset of the macro mindset with the list I haven't really fleshed out yet. Because in the macro mindset, you could say, wow, if I take Veilwalker something, if you think about it, you could take Hellfire Veilwalker, Mark for Doom, and Graves Calls. And single models are like in deep shit from your Herald. If you focus on, I'm going to cast big ass spells at these single models. On the other side, if they're taking massive troops and stuff, your magic might just be more supporty. And you might say, all right, well, now my Herald can take some debuffs. And I'm just going to accept that my spells aren't going to be, like, amazing, but I'm going to have the super fightiness. So I'm kind of, like, coming back around on the fact that the Herald with the Adept, depending on the lore, maybe Occultism's the best for the Adept because I'm still not sure. Yeah, it probably is. Occultism and then a Shrine because they all fight because the Adept's on Chariot. They all fight. It's solid magic phase. It's just I feel like when I have that magic phase, because the Herald is kind of this mixed bag, I use him funny. I don't know. I felt like I used him a lot better in my Masters list. And I don't know why, because that only had 2 mages in it. But I don't know. I also think he's like fucking invincible, and then he dies, and I'm like, fuck this game. But I got to use him better. But I'm starting to come back around to that idea, that magic phase of like, because shrines are really nice too. So Shrine, Adept, Herald is a pretty legit magic phase. Um, but yeah, the Feldrake list, I'm kind of over it. I'm gonna switch it for the next round. I'm not. It's a fine list. It just didn't scratch any itches that I was looking for. It felt kind of boring to play to me, from my personal point of view. That being said, I am probably, while I play Warriors, and I probably am stuck with Warriors because that's what I have painted. Blah blah blah. My style is of how I like to play is probably a little more like a Dark Elf, but if Dark Elves are better. I like the shooty combat, like mixed arms type shit. Though I bet if I played it, and then I played against like warrior type players, I'd be like, oh, fuck this. Because I do think there is a lot of interesting skill in advancing on people and how to do that properly. Like it's definitely not a just push, because if you just push, you'll beat bad players and then they'll find a way to beat you potentially. So I would say with ETC being postponed, potentially, most likely, and being stuck on UV, I don't know what I'm gonna play now. I'm in more of a list like Funk than I have been before. Like, and it's just because I'm just trying to try different things now that I have time, especially if ETC gets canceled. Like, I have tons of time to try things, because what? It's gonna be the same book for the next year and a half. I'll get another 50 plus games in. Now's the time to say, do I really love XYZ? I've tried and I want to try a little bit more of some of the things I haven't used a ton, but I know some I don't like anymore. Like I legit just hate Warrior Knights. I hate Warrior Knights. Do I think they are awful? No, but I just feel like they are bleh. They're just bleh to me. They're just you kill fucking two of them and they're like sitting there being useless. They don't grind with anything well. If they you gotta hope they get the charge. If they don't get the charge, they can't flee. Unless you take fucking Lust, which is a ton of points. And sure, what Lust plus let's see, champion plus musician 55, 50. I mean, it's not cheap, man. 35, 280, 335. 385 for 5 with Lust. That feels like a fuck ton of points. Fuck ton of points. I mean, it's more than a chariot. It's 6 wounds with a 1-up save, T4. A chariot of Lust is 345 and has 5 wounds. They're different because of speed and stuff, but like for real, like it also fights like it fights differently. It's not the green one. I guess the point is, it just feels like weird. Like it just feels like meh. Like I compared to Ryman Knights, and I was talking with Thomas about this. Compared to Ryman Knights, which are about the same points as that Lust unit for 5 or 6. I don't know. Ryman Knights are one faster. They hit the same hardness basically. Ryman Knights hit a little harder because they have +1 to hit. But like I guess part of it is they're immune to alchemy spells. They have a 6 of ward save, which is randomly nice. They have a bit worse. They're more fragile in their own way because they're T2 up at T3. So there's definitely that's a down. But they can flee. And we talked about. He's like, well, I can make long charges, and the worst case is I just flee, and I have a 3d6 rally and blah blah blah, and they're healable and all this crap. And they're in a different army. They're in an army that shoots, so like they can kind of post up as a defensive position and say on a flank and say, all right, well, I'm going to shoot you and magic you from the other side. These knights are kind of just going to sit here and be annoying. Now, I don't think warrior knights are like awful, as in you should never take them. It's just I'm on the downswing of them for a little bit at least. Um, I haven't played Chosen in a long time. I've always been on the downswing of Chosen Knights. I hate those fuckers. I do like 3-man Feldrake units because they are cheap at 365. They're a lot of beef on the flank. Like when you shoot, it's like a variance thing, right? If I randomly like fail 3 saves on my knights or 2 saves from bowfire or something, it's like they become a lot more useless. Whereas being toughness 5 is the 4 save and 12 wounds instead of 6 wounds, like you can absorb a lot more of that, a little bit of swinginess, and say, all right, well, at least if I have 2 alive, it's 8 strength 5 attacks with potential stomps and stuff like, and they're still tough, and there's it's just a difference, and they can actually do stuff after the combat, but they're not big enough to where like if you lose combat by like if you get force clipped and you lose combat by 1 and like your leadership 9, you're not 700 800 points either, 700 points. So I think that's a nice mix of points. Maybe 5-man chosen units might become a thing again. Just having one 5-man unit, it's 10 wounds. They're pretty cheap. I don't know. I'll think about that. It's an interesting thought. Chosen Knights, Chosen Chariots, I think are fun. I'm starting to come around to the idea of maybe having a Wretched One unit. Um, so I played Masters with a big ass greed unit of warriors, a Feldrake unit, and 6 knights. And I felt like my scoring, I had trouble. And I feel like that has put a part of my brain where I'm like, I cannot have 3 scoring. I have to have 4 scoring. And maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of list things that I can't go deep into right now just because I'm talking for longer than I wanted. Because I have to work. That, like, it goes through my head. Like, what's the magic setup? How much scoring do I need? Do I want to get something out of special? If you could say, in my core, I'm going to have 3 scoring and 2 chaff. 2 dogs, 2 warriors, and a barbarian unit. And you could theoretically not pick any chaff or any um, scoring in the rest of your army, and you could compete in every scenario, assuming you had the rest of your army was aggressive enough or strong enough to like fight everything off. Now maybe you want one more scoring in the form of Feldrakes or something, but you could get away with that, not have any flares or anything. You could totally get away with that. And that creates this very interesting dynamic if you say that's my chaff and scoring in my core, right? Or you could say I want to have something like a big ass greed unit. I want a solid block in my core. Do you take a Forsworn unit because that creates this really big anvil, but it's 6 move, it's blocky. Do you need the Hellmaul or not? Like there are really good Hellmaul lists that I think Little Thomas from Germany is running a really nice Hellmaul list. We talked about in the CoronaCon video. I like that list a lot too. I think Battle Shrines are. I don't want to say making a comeback because they really never left for too long, but I think a Battle Shrine or two is really nice. I think there are a lot of units also that I'm trying to use better. I would say for my own personal growth in playing, game plan and patience are two of my biggest lacking areas. And that sounds like really like, oh, how do you win games if you have bad game plan? Right? If I don't It's not that my game plan's always wrong, but I really think about like how to 20 people. Like that's always my goal. And it really should be, what can I reasonably expect from this game? How can I win the scenario? And I always think of this after the game or like in the middle of the game, but if you win the scenario and just kill 2 units, you can get 15 points. That's it. 14 to 15 point wins are just win the fucking scenario and kill one more thing than they do. Pretty much. Right? That's a 14. A 14 is killing a fast cav unit or 2 and standing on the scenario. And there are games where I'm like, why did I push farther? Like, why? Games where I have the advantage. Like, it's these weird games where it's like, I have the advantage, I have the magic advantage. Like, they're not going to kill enough points with magic to, the worst case is I lose 12-8 because I won the scenario. And I just do shit to, like, get the scenario tied, and it's worth so many points. But that patience to sit there and say, I don't need to push any harder. I just have to win the scenario, and then maybe I'll clean up some points and get. I mean, 16 is 900 points in the scenario. Hell, if you told me that's a 16, which I know it is every fucking game, I know it is, I'd be like, hell yeah, I can do this. But it's those games where you push too hard, and you don't sit there and say, all right, I'm in a very good position. I'm up 1,000 points. I have the scenario locked down. I don't need to do anything special, especially if the game plan, if I sit there and say, he has to do something to kind of like have a, you know what I mean? Like there's this, I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to think about the game, but I say patience in that there are games where I'm like, man, I was really patient with this model, you know, over 2 turns. I took some time, did some magic, got these other units in position, and I didn't have to push everything forward. Like you take a chariot and you put it on one side of the board, and you're like, I don't have to push it forward. It doesn't have to go kill everything. It has to stop them from coming around the terrain. So maybe it just sits there, but that's doing its job. It's zoning, like that zoning, like the active defense, right? Feels weird to me to play with, and I have to get over that for sure. When it comes to like it's turn 3 and there's weird charges to be had, what's the best way to do them? I'm not perfect at it, but I feel like I'm better at seeing that kind of shit, like the overruns, the redirects, and all that kind of stuff, than I am at the beginning of the game, where I'm like, how am I going to win the scenario, and how am I going to be patient? Because the whole like the Hellmall type lists are a little more patient of a list, right? You take a turn or two, set up your units, put out some portals, let's get in position, and then let's smash them and win the scenario. And there are just times where I was like, "Blad, I'm just gonna run at you," and then it's like, "Oh, I'm against ogres," and they fucking smash all my models. So I'm working on that. But this is just a small update talking about the ETC, talking about for next round of CoronaCon. I'll put it here. I'm just gonna say it in this video so that I'm probably gonna run my aggro demon prince build that I've been running in scrimmages. I'm going to say that now so people don't think I'm tailoring to whoever the fuck I'm playing next, but I think I'm going to run that. So if you see me run that, I'm definitely changing off the Feldrake list. So I'm probably going to run, my aggro list that might be a little bit changed for some of the recent things I've encountered. Um, so yeah, that's it for now. I'll try to do more videos since I'm stuck at home, but thanks for listening.